All right, welcome into Before Floor, an extension of 5 on the Floor here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, sponsored as always by our friends at Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer of 5 Reasons Sports, also of the Miami Marlins. You can also find their little stand there outside of 124. I did a little partaking in that. I was not late, Christian. I was not late. This was not my fault. It's nobody's fault, actually, today. We'll be reading your comments. If you want to make sure we read your comments, go to the Super Chat. Stock market was down 680 points today. Anything you could do to
So was crypto.
Don't talk about
crypto.
it.
Well, I sold my Bitcoin this morning. Anything?
What?
I did. Anything?
Oh
yes,
my
I did.
God.
Yes, and my Ether and my
Ethan.
Ethereum. I did. I'll buy it back. I'll buy it
Hey,
back.
y'all, but the culture remains priceless.
Always. I don't know about that. All right.
Culture never dips.
It wasn't for Victor Oladipo. Presented by our friend MarkBrownPA.com. MarkBrownPA.com. If you're looking for estate planning, which you may need to do after the stock market dip today, make sure you check Mark out, 954-566-5678, based right here in Fort Lauderdale. You might even be able to find a working gas station near him, although I couldn't today. Just north of Cypress Creek on Andrews. He's right there. You can do your estate planning, but also mention 5 Reasons. They got an in-house title company, took care of my condo sale for me. $295 if you mention 5 Reasons to get that done for you. So did a great job. He's a really good guy, and he is a big Miami sports fan. So it's Mark Brown, that's with a C, markbrownpa.com. I wish it was with a K. I wouldn't have to say it every time. markbrownpa.com, 954-566-5678. All right, let's get to it. We got 2 regulars tonight. Alex Salito and I were actually on the Kendrick Nunn pod earlier today with Brady Hawk. That will be posted at some point later tonight. Greg Sylvander is with us as well. We have a newcomer. He goes by Twisted Tapioca. Why don't you introduce yourself to the people here?
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Twisted Tapioca. I am Positivity Captain. I'm here to make sure that you guys don't go too deep off the negativity rails. That's my only job.
Wait a second. No.
What's your real name?
Yes.
My name is Anthony Schwartz.
Thank you.
I've almost become my persona. Sorry.
I did that earlier in life. That didn't work out so well. You cannot be the You cannot be the positivity. Yeah, right. Tropical. You cannot be the positivity captain when we have positivity captain right over here.
You don't know.
Mine is rooted in fact. Everyone understands this. That this is just intuitive senses that go beyond
and numbers.
All right.
Rating.
So I'm going to start with some positivity here this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, or whatever the hell we're at. The Victor Oladipo news didn't come as a shock to the Heat. So we're gonna do a lot of Oladipo here today. Again, if you want the Kendrick Nunn pod, we didn't really talk to Kendrick about Vic. We talked more about his career. But if you want any info on Oladipo, here's the latest, and then Greg and I will fill in some gaps, and then we'll bring Alex and our man Twisted in to kind of embellish this. Basically, Victor is out for the season. It was anticipated. I think the wording of the press release from the Heat tonight at 4:45, which was emailed to some of us and also put on Twitter, was pretty pointed. One, that Oladipo decided, typically not the way that the Heat put out a release, to have surgery on his injured quad, but also that it was done in New York. Now, the reason that's important is about a month ago when this first happened, we reported at 5 Reasons Sports that Vic was seeking a second opinion in New York, which I then got confirmed by sources inside the team. He's not using the team doctors. He's using, and he's entitled to do that. By the CBA, he's entitled to do that. But I think those two things together should give you a little bit of backstory about what's really been going on here. People have wanted to know why it is that the Heat Eric Spoelstra would not give consistent updates about this. The Heat do not want to put their players in a bind when it's really the player's choice. It was not the Heat's choice here. Vic had to decide whether or not, A, he could play with the pain, B, whether it was the best thing for his long-term future, and C, how he wanted to handle it with the Heat, because we all know he wants to play in Miami. We're going to deal with 2 different topics. The present. Well, let's start. We're going to go the past, present, future. Let's start with the past. I'll start with you, Tony, since you're the newcomer. Looking back at it, is there any way you don't do the deal for Victor Oladipo?
Well, the Lowry deal wasn't happening, and he was there in the 10th hour for nothing. 10 times out of 10, I'm making that trade. We got Ariza out of it. We've got Dedmon out of it. And I believe in that kind of butterfly effect thing. All this stuff had to happen in order to get those 2 guys. I'm making that deal every single time. And we just got too many role players for guys that were never going to start on any other team.
I think that's fair. Greg, I think you and both of you guys agree on that, right? Like the fact that Kelly Olynyk has become Kelly Bird in Houston in the last year of his contract. I mean,
Kelly Onet rating.
It means nothing. He was never being retained, ever, no matter what. He just wasn't in the long-term plans. I don't think Avery Bradley was either, unless he had a crazy run that would have made them pick up his team option because it was so low. But otherwise, they really didn't lose much. You had to take the gamble. You had to bring him in and see that if it worked, because it was such a clean path if he did work out with bird rights and things like that. So why not take that shot? I think anyone second guessing that deal is playing, major Monday morning quarterback. Is that what that's called in football terms?
Alex, let me ask you this to that end, okay? Because Tony mentioned Dedmon Ariza. If they got Dedmon Ariza, which they would have likely gotten anyway, I mean, they were tracking Dedmon for several months and seeing if he was healthy. Would Kelly Olynyk have really had a big role with this team anyway? Like, how would that have worked? Because Ariza slotted in as the starting 4, right? And Dedmon slotted in as the big instead of Precious. So I kind of feel like, I mean, I know they like Kelly.
Good question.
Right, but how much would Kelly have actually? Kelly didn't play in the postseason last year very much, right? Like he was in and out. So would he have?
He had a limited role in the bubble. I feel like it was around 15 or less minutes a game. And outside of that, like it would have been nice to keep Kelly, but is Spo gonna play two slow, somewhat slow-footed bigs off the bench together? Like I wouldn't mind Kelly being back off the bench. I thought he's been good in that role, but it's just that's not what Spo would want to do. Like I think theoretically you could make it work, especially in a world where you're not trying to give Andre a whole lot of minutes. I think you could make it work, but it is a lot of Monday morning quarterback, and I don't think that's what Spo wants to do anyways. I don't think Spo would throw him back into the starting lineup with what Ariza's done either.
Yeah, no, I mean I think it's fair, and I don't know necessarily like a starting say a reserve core of Dedmon, Olynyk, and Iguodala. I'm not feeling that front line, right? Like that again. That's not the way that Spoelstra wants to play, particularly if you're bringing Hero Dragic off the bench.
Exactly.
I don't really think that would have been playable. So let's get to the present now. I'll start with Greg here again. If you guys want your comments to be read, unless you're in the network like somebody like Ariel here, make sure you use that super chat. Again, Bitcoin to pay for. Greg, the present. Okay. This team has been operating. I reported, Ira reported, I think others have reported that the Heat basically didn't care at a certain point if he came back. It was like if he did, he did. If he didn't, he didn't. Okay, so I mean, we just did a sit down with Kendrick Nunn for about 30 minutes, which we're going to post tonight. Kendrick thinks he's going to be a multi-time All-Star and win multiple championships. He said, what does he want to be? The best? I mean, Kendrick is very confident in himself.
That Leo energy.
Well, and look, he's averaging 18 points since they've stuck him in the starting lineup, okay, on high efficiency. So I'll just say this. Are they okay without Victor Oladipo? I think we can make the argument they would have been better without him in some capacity, but the way that Hero and Dragic have picked it up off the bench now, the way Kendrick's played, Duncan's shooting well, how much are they going to miss Vic, I guess, from what they thought they were going to have?
I think it's all predicated on them continuing to shoot at the clip that they've been shooting at. As long as that trend continues and they have their hot nights, I think that they're going to be able to survive, but it'll be matchup dependent. I mean, there's no doubt that there's matchups where Depot was going to come in super handy as you look down any, scope of a playoff run. But ultimately, I mean, I think you've kind of got a similar situation to what you had last year. You just hope guys are a little bit sharper, a little bit healthier come, go time. And, like Dedmon is a positive that they didn't have. I think Ariza brings different things. So although I would have loved to see it, I don't think that it's a crippling blow because they're kind of finding their stride without Depot anyway. And to figure out how they would have juggled that bench situation, that could have been a distraction is too strong of a word, but something that takes the focus off of what they really need to, as you get down a playoff run.
We appreciate the Bitcoin donation, Andrew. That might actually buy a share of GBTC in the next week if it keeps plummeting. Tony, let's go to you. I mean, how much will they miss? Everybody was. I think it's a little disingenuous for us all to say that they won't miss him at all when everybody was so psyched on the night of the trade, right? Like, isn't that fair?
I'm not that guy. I'm gonna miss him. I think that, to Greg's point, they're finding some consistency with the shooting, so everything looks a lot better. But the team didn't shoot well for a long time, and there was a clear path to how we would try to win games with Vic, which was defense first. So 4 quarters of defense, get teams into the bonus, and let Jimmy, Victor, and Bam go downhill at guys while they were in foul trouble. That was a repeatable, consistent way to try and win basketball games. Now we're back to kind of like, we have to get hot, and we need Goran to hit his shots. We need Kendrick Nunn's shot not to come off the front of that rim. So I worry a little about our ceiling. With Victor Oladipo, I felt like our ceiling was higher. And for people who know, Victor wasn't the guy I would have traded for. But when we got him, it made the team better. And what we gave up wasn't a lot. But I just liked it more when we had switchability 1 through 8. And now we're kind of back to 3 guard lineups going into the second and third quarter.
Can I just say,
Go ahead.
10 seconds. I am not sunshine pumping that Oladipo will not be missed. Like, there was an element that he was bringing that they absolutely have to address for them to strike during Jimmy's window. It didn't work out. All I mean is that I think still, when you look at the landscape of the East, if everyone on this team is healthy and they're shooting well, I think that they can still make a run. So that's where I kind of side there.
All right. I don't want to go. Go ahead, Tony.
I got on this show, and then my first thought was, attack Greg. Like, go after Greg. That's my move.
Yeah, don't go after.
No, I didn't take it that way.
Go after Alex. But no, here's what I got. We'll get to future in a second. I don't want to go there quite yet. But let's stay in the present. Alex, Cooper Moorhead posted some stats on net ratings during this recent run, and what's interesting is the defense has collapsed. I mean, they're winning, but they're basically winning the way they won, like, sort of in stretches last year, where they're just outscoring everybody, right? Just outshooting everyone. And I feel like, so we've gone back to the pre-Oladipo thing. Like, I mean, can they be a good enough defense? We know the Nets suck defensively, but we know Philly does not. And we know that Milwaukee does not. I mean, can they compete with those two teams playing defensively the way they played the past 3 weeks?
No, but I'm not really worried about that. I think at this point, like, the fact that you've got the 2 all-NBA defenders with Jimmy and Bam just kind of stepping things up. I think Ariza is an elite defensive role player. I think Iguodala's still a nice defensive player to have. I just think, they've got a little bit more balance on the team. Dedmon is a nice interior defender. I think it's stuff that you can bank will turn back around on the playoffs. Yeah, no, that was purposeful for sure. But look, to me, like, it's weird, right? Like, did we think that this is going to happen, that they were going to have like a top 5-ish offense for this stretch and a bottom 10 defense after? I mean, it's been so weird. Like, last season to this season, it flip-flopped, and then now this last stretch, I don't know what's real or not anymore. I do think the defense is real. I still have some questions about the shooting, but everything's going in the right direction, and that's all you could ask for. Like, they figured stuff out right before, the playoff stretch, so it's pretty damn convenient timing.
I love the fact that Adam is sending us money. He's basically just sending us back the money I just gave him for that IG page. So it's just like, Adam, if you don't want it, just that's fine. I'll keep it. You don't have to give it back to us. We appreciate it. Setting a good example, though. Thank you, Mr. Clutch. All right, let's get to the future now. I'll let Alex start this time. All right, so here's what that statement said to me. We're not waiting on Vic Oladipo anymore. The Heat know how to word things. Like, stuff crosses Pat's desk. I can tell you, there is not a statement that the Heat have ever put out that Pat Riley does not sign off on, and sometimes with Mickey's approval. And so it does lend you to believe a little bit that, again, I don't have a lot of backstory on this, but it does feel a little bit like there was not total agreement in terms of the way to handle this situation. We talked a lot. We had Scott Agnes on our pod in Indiana about some of the issues that Victor Oladipo's people caused in Indiana, caused in Houston. I know for a fact, first, that Houston didn't get the offers that we talked about. We knew that because, obviously what the Heat gave up was relatively nothing. But also, I also heard that Vic was never offered a 2-year extension by Houston, by the way. I've heard that from multiple sources. And that's another thing. That's another thing that was put out there I think, to create market.
The market.
It
for
surprised
him.
me when that came out too, but you know what? Like that actually makes sense what you're saying.
Yeah,
Like
the Indiana offer made perfect sense. The
Yeah.
Houston offer made no sense.
Indiana made an offer, but here's the thing. If Houston indeed made that offer, okay, and again, I'm hearing that they did not. If they indeed made that offer, those agents should be sued for malpractice. I mean, the fact that you would not take basically a 2-year max when you knew, and I was told when Vic got here, he's going to get hurt again, okay? There was not agreement between him and the Houston doctors. The Houston doctors got into a little difficulty from what I heard from passing him on a physical.
Jeez.
So none of this was a huge surprise. We've talked about some of this stuff in the chats, which is we've been trying to lead people a certain direction, that this was not necessarily going to work out all that well. But again, I don't have an issue with it.
Sorry for being positive, Ethan.
Well, I don't. Okay, well, we got twisted here for that.
Yeah,
but,
I'm very thankful you're dropping all these nuggets while I'm on the show.
well,
Appreciate that.
I'm just trying to say that I'm not saying that they made. Thank you, Christian. I'm not saying that they made a mistake going after him. It was a natural play. It was worth the risk. They like you
Good
said,
job,
they weren't
good
going
effort.
to resign Kelly. But
Yeah.
I'll ask this question, Alex.
I never forget those 4 games.
Well, maybe just the 4th one. But Alex, let me ask you this one. Would you bring him back? At what price?
Hey, look, I feel like we talk about this all the time. The worst kept secret is out there that they're going to go after Kyle Lowry with cap space. They're not going to give Depot that money. You've said multiple times before they never promised him anything. This was basically just a kind of prove it yourself type of deal. You know, you get an inside look at him before, especially, you know, with the injury stuff headed into an offseason where you don't really know what you think of him. I think it was a worthwhile risk. It sucks. I drove the Victor Oladipo train straight into a train wreck. It's my fault. I'm taking a responsibility. I'm holding myself accountable here. But really, I think like I would be willing to take him back. It's got to be mid-level or lower at this point, man. Like there's something in that range. Like, and that's just like if you're trying to get me in a situation to bring him back, it wouldn't be my plan A. That's for damn sure. Like the injury stuff is actually scaring me now. Like I think before it was like he was on the road back from a bad injury, and then it's like it's just setback after setback, and we've seen this road before. Like, you know, I still have scars from Justice, so it would be nice if the Depot thing could work out.
So does the rib, Alex. The rib has scars.
Oh, come on! I mean, if you're gonna make the joke, at least say backboard. But
okay, well that's right. That's true. All right, but let's. And I'm gonna go to Twisted here in a second. But let's go to Greg. What if I was to tell you that I don't even know that Vic's going to be healthy? The same people who told me not to expect to see Vic again this season are telling me don't expect to see Vic at the start of next season either. That essentially this could take a good chunk of next year. If that's the case, I mean, again, what is the level here where you're willing to bring him back because you know he wants to be here for basically a look-see, or again, did you get enough of a look that you're like he's just not a culture guy?
Either the biannual or if they operate as a over the cap team as a really low like whatever the biannual number is, but that would be his cap number, you know, signed with bird rights for 1 year, prove it. Otherwise, I'm not interested. The more I look into it and talk to people, it sounds like it's going to impact his ability for next season. And I just can't shake the Jimmy window thing that we've like harped on. And I think that the moves that they make this summer are going to be particularly pointed towards getting Jimmy Butler the help he needs to really go and do this. I think they're like that one piece away. And so the Depot stuff is just too risky. I don't see it. But if he wants to come back and do a prove it thing for $3 million, like, okay, I mean, let's try it.
I think he's too prideful to do that. But
agreed. That's what I mean. So that's why it's not viable to me, really.
Right. But let's say
that's probably going to take a hit when that market when he gets those offers this offseason.
I mean, the Knicks used to be the team you could count on to throw crazy money, but I don't think they're going to do that.
They're going to throw it at none. They're going to throw it at Kendrick, not Victor.
Well, they might actually. All right. So
didn't they try to steal Lowry? The Knicks try to steal Lowry.
Yes.
I think it's possible. Anthony, let's look at it in this case then. Let me say to you, because we've been throwing it out there, would you bring the 5 guards back? And if we don't think they're bringing Oladipo back, if this is a plan, if it's basically retain everybody, retain Nunn, retain Robinson, essentially match whatever off, let them go find offers, but go match whatever offer that they throw out there. and basically re-sign Kyle Lowry to replace what you thought you were going to get from Victor Oladipo. You bring back Tyler Hero. Perhaps he becomes a trade chip, perhaps not. And you've got essentially and Dragic comes back on a cheaper deal than this year. Is that guard rotation good enough with Jimmy and Bam to contend for the East against a Nets team that you figure is probably going to be more fully healthy next year?
Who's playing defense out of those 5 guards?
Well, can Kyle still defend, I guess, is the question.
Well, if Kyle's here, I
Right.
guess. But you have to assume, like you said, bring back Nunn. I don't know if that's a foregone conclusion. I kind of feel like Nunn might be gone to make space for Lowry. And if I just don't like.
He doesn't have to be, right? I mean,
He doesn't have.
No.
No, he does not. He does
But-
not have to
But
be.
luxury tax space, if they don't want to
Yeah,
pay the
right.
tax, then that could become a conversation. But if they're willing to go into the tax, then they could absolutely retain Kendrick Nunn.
Look, I'm a defense guy. That's always been my steed. That's always been what I watched. I have 4 guards. Okay, you give me Lowry. He's a little older. Yeah, but give me Lowry. You have 4 guards here that are turnstiles on defense. This team is still getting outscored when Tyler Hero's on the court. I mean, his offensive impact is great, but we're still getting outscored when he's on the floor. You give me 4 names and they're playing defense and can't switch. So
Right.
no, I'm not happy with this lineup. These 5 guards. We're going to take them into the playoffs, and we're going to try our best. We're going to compete, but if they're going into next offseason, I think Jimmy needs help at point of attack.
Well, Alex, okay, well, 2 things. Jimmy needing help, I think, is something we should talk about. How can they justify not paying the luxury tax in Jimmy's prime?
That's exactly what was going through my head when you guys
Right?
said that. Like, I 100% agree. Like, if they don't want to go into the luxury tax, you know, that's why you don't bring Kendrick back. But it's just
Total
like a bad look.
bullshit.
It's
if
a
they
bad
don't.
look. You told Jimmy you're gonna go all in for him, and I'm not gonna say they failed Jimmy Butler, but they haven't brought in another superstar.
Yeah,
so
don't say that.
not paying luxury
Here we
tax
go.
would just be ugly. No, like that would just be a dumbass thing to say. But seriously though, like Lowry is, to me, that's why I just love the idea, because you know I like the concept of having a nice point of attack defender who could also score and shoot off the dribble and also like do some of the leadership stuff. Man, I don't know. I think Lowry is as clean of a fit as there is out there. I just hope it actually happens, because I don't know, like the guard situation is funny, because like they're all kind of turning it around when it comes to shooting and scoring, and that's what made them such a weapon last year when it comes to their offense. It's like you don't know where the scoring, where the shooting is going to come from. So that's huge. That's why I'm like, whatever, re-sign all these guys if you can, go into a luxury tax and do whatever you can to bring Lowry in and just go from there. Because
But does it have to be, like, don't get me wrong, I'm player friendly. Like, these owners are millionaires, billionaires several times over. Go into the tax, I don't care. But does it have to be for Kendrick Nunn? Like, are there other options? Can we explore other options before we go, yeah, let's re-sign Nunn?
but he's
double
already on
sign
the
and
team,
trade.
so you have the rights.
Well,
You have his bird rights.
You have the
I
bird
get
rights.
it.
I want to get to a couple comments that came in because the super chats we tried. One came in, Lonzo over Lowry. The Heat may agree with that, by the way.
But
But
not
I don't
Jimmy.
know that. But I don't know that Jimmy does.
Whoa.
Okay, because I know Pat's very fond of Lonzo, and obviously I think Lonzo is rounded into the type of player that Pat likes. Big point guards typically. Don't
I thought
let
we wanted
Tim
another
Hardaway
scorer.
thing fool you. I'm just saying. I think Lonzo would be a perfect seamless fit, but he defends. But I don't think that's where Jimmy is on this. Okay, but here's the other thing about it. Does Depot still want to be here? I mean, Depot wants to be in Miami. I'm not sure Depot wants to be with the Heat. I feel like those are 2 different things. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to be here. He's buying a house here, right? But is it fair to say? I don't. I mean, he's got to look at the quote unquote culture. It's not for, it's like Spo says, we're not for everybody.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I always said from the get-go that I thought he was going to play again this season, because I thought I just couldn't imagine him, just knowing the organization the way that I do, him thinking that they were going to invest in him long-term, short-term, any term, whatever, if he didn't try to get back on the court, if it was at all possible. And so there's just a part of me, the way that statement came out, that feels like that maybe at some juncture of this, it was possible. And
you know why I think it was, Greg? Because 2 things happened.
Decided.
One, Depot was on the bench. Okay, right? He was sitting there with his teammates on the bench. But also, Spoelstra kind of gave an update for the first time. He said he's making progress. Okay,
Mhm.
Eric doesn't say anything
Why?
without
Exactly.
intention. Okay, so there was a point about a week ago where, again, even though I was hearing from everybody, and Ira and I said 25% chance he returns. Ira said 20% chance. You were hearing similar things. Even though we were all hearing he probably wasn't coming back, there was some stuff that was making me hesitate there a little bit. Like, okay, he's on the bench. Spo's saying he's making progress. And then all of a sudden at 4:45 on a Wednesday, okay, like talk about a news dump, okay? They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
4:45, there's an email and a press release is sent out. No Spoelstra availability today, okay? Nothing. All of a sudden, there's just a news dump. And he's getting the surgery in New York. And he decided, I've covered this team long enough. All right, let's go forward now. Let's look at what they have, okay? No Oladipo. I don't really feel like this is going to be a blow to the team because I don't feel like they counted on him to be there. But what we've seen lately, they got a huge game against Philadelphia tomorrow, so we'll pivot here briefly. We don't know who the Sixers are going to use or play. We don't. They could sit everybody, conceivably. They don't really care for the Heat, so maybe they won't. All right, last Heat home game of the regular season. Let's start with you, Anthony. How important is it in your view to get to stay in that 4-5 spot, or are you feeling people who say they can beat Milwaukee in the first round?
I'm not feeling anything. Like I don't feel really good about any matchup. Even I know this is going to come as slanderous, but even the Knicks, I don't feel really great about the consistency that this team can just win 4 games in any series. I would prefer that matchup. I think it's super important. Getting to 5-4 feels like the right move for this squad. I'm just happy we clinched the playoffs. We every year since Riley's been here, except for 5, I'm doing a lot of research. Or 6, thank you. Doing a lot of research for a pod right now. Every year we've been in the playoffs, so it might feel like that's a foregone conclusion that we will get there, but this is a gift. This is the best of the best playing at the highest level of competition. Like every year you're here is a good year. So I'm glad we're here to compete. I would love to be in the 4 or the 5 seed. That's about as far as it goes with me.
So much for all the positivity and optimism. Come on.
It's the 3 guard lineups, guys. I just don't like the 3 guard lineups. I don't trust them.
Jimmy and Bam got this. Relax, folks.
Well, but here's my point on this, Alex, is that everybody's like, okay, well, not everybody, but some people would rather play Milwaukee in the first round because of the matchup. My thing is, don't you want to go as far as you can before you have to deal with one of the 3 best teams in the East? Like,
absolutely.
I mean, why do you want to face that and at least build some momentum? Maybe, let's say you beat the Knicks in 5, okay, or Atlanta in 5. You're feeling good about yourself going in a series against Philadelphia. We know that Embiid or Simmons is getting hurt, okay? Even Jared Greenberg said that to me on the pod. He's like, you trust Embiid in the playoffs? Embiid's never stayed healthy in the playoffs, ever, except last year.
Or
he missed the last game. Or consistent. I feel like you win a playoffs, you get to position to win a playoff series, correct? Like, why the hell would you want to be 6?
Absolutely. Like, again, you know me, I've been saying all year, like, Milwaukee, give it to me again. As the months have gone by, I've slowly got less and less guts.
There we go.
But but really, like, I'm looking at the Hawks and Knicks, like, that's food. As much as I don't trust this team, like, that's food. I'm looking at them like, those are the matchups right there I can feel good about, man. Exactly. Get this team going, warm them up, get them ready for the real entree when they got to focus and tune in all the way. Like, the Hawks might give them a nice competitive series. The Knicks games, it'll be a ground and pound series. I'll tell you this right now. I'm going to cover my bases here. Heat in 5 over the Knicks, Heat in 6 over the Hawks at most. I wanted to say Heat in 5, but I wanted to give them an extra game there just because I actually think they could compete with the Heat a little bit. I'm not worried about either one of those 2 teams. I don't care how consistent this Heat team is.
Some people think that Milwaukee is going to intentionally sit players against Miami so that Miami wins so that they avoid 6 because Milwaukee doesn't want to face Miami. And I love those vibes being put out into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Also, Washington is up 9 at Atlanta.
I wasn't
without Beal?
I wasn't going to jinx it. I wasn't going to jinx it. You know what? The Wizards are going to be a pain in the ass for somebody in the playoffs, man. They just,
whoever they draw, it's going to be a problem.
Not us.
It's not going to be them soon. I will say this about an Atlanta series. I still think John Collins is on the Heat's radar. John Collins is on the Heat's radar, and I still think the Heat are on John Collins' radar.
Plan B?
That could be interesting. I think.
I think that they're downplaying what they want to do in the front court next to Bam in terms of what they may do this summer. I don't know how they're going to make it work, but I think that it's too quiet, honestly.
Yeah, look, they're not planning on going into next year with 36-year-old Trevor Ariza as their only option at the 4. Okay, I mean they're not. I think they want to bring Trevor back to replace Iguodala.
Exactly.
I think there's going to be somebody else playing next to Bam next year, and I think Ariza will be in a role that's perfect for him, which is at this stage, which is 20 minutes off the bench, which is kind of what you wanted from Iggy this year. All right, we want to mention something before we go. We got Full Court Press coming on at 9 o'clock tonight. That's Ariel, that's Gad, that's Marco. They'll go around the league. Alex is appearing on his third platform today. 5 on the floor. Floor's yours. He's
4 hours of sleep.
He's been on time for the first 2. No chance he'll be on time at 9 o'clock. He'll be there at 9:05. And you got to edit our damn pod later once I send you the ad.
Yeah, I'm not Ubering tonight. It's all good.
It's a full day. The roads are safe. Anyway, you can't get gas in South Florida anyway. We appreciate it.
We really screwed ourselves over, man. Stop panic buying gas for the love of God. I need to drive Uber. I need gas, man. Please.
Such idiots. Or just go to the port. Go here to Fort Lauderdale. Or no, actually don't. I need the gas in the morning. Anthony Schwartz, thank you for joining us. Follow him at Twisted Tapioca. You'll see him on more of our platforms. Thanks to Greg. Thanks, Alex. Thanks to MarkBrownPA.com. Get that estate planning done. That Bitcoin's not going to last you very long. Or Doge or whatever the hell it is. Whatever it is that...
Stop it. Don't listen to this, man. Diamond hands.
Only if you sell. Don't sell. Diamond hands.
I keep selling on the way up. Anyway, I keep selling on the way up.
Leif has had enough of this nonsense.
Leif is checked out. All right, I'm going to cut some ads and other stuff. Have a good night, everybody.
Diamond hands.